This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. I'm Pim Fox. There's red ink in the air. Air carriers such as AMR, they report tomorrow they're going to post billions of dollars of losses for the spring quarter. The question is there a model for the airline industry that does not include continuous gigantic losses? Well, let's find out. Let's bring in Simon Telling-Smith. He is the Executive Vice President for the Americas at British Airways. Simon, very good to have you.
Yeah,
thanks very much for coming in. So is the model broken? I mean, do we really just have to kind of go back to a whiteboard and start all over again? Because, I mean, the airline business just looks like a terrible business.
Yeah, I don't think the model is broken. We've just done some research, in fact, with Harvard Business Review, looking at people's propensity and desire to do face-to-face meetings. And what they said is to conduct business successfully, you have to meet people face-to-face. You can't just stay in your office using the internet and the telephone. That says to me that people need to travel. Businesses need to travel. And I think in any business situation, if you have an underlying need for your product, then that's got to be a good start to your model.
Right, but indeed, you've just announced a promotion, a kind of a contest where people can go online and enter their business needs, and I think what you're giving away 1,000 free business class tickets to go to London to actually conduct business.
Yes, we are. We're going to take, as you say, 1,000 businesses to London, small businesses, entrepreneurs, who can really make the difference with that one meeting in London or in Europe, who can meet clients, meet customers, meet partners, and maybe bring back a deal. It's our way of putting something, I guess, into the economy, but also our way of saying, hey, we really believe in this idea of going out and meeting people. We believe that to grow your business, you need to be out there. And we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to run this competition. We're going to take a plane full of people for free from New York, and they're going to fly together to London to do business. And then we're going to do the same thing all over again from LA and from Chicago.
Okay, but having said that, you take those people, you're giving them free tickets. That's not great for shareholders right now. I mean, how do you change or how do you adapt the business model? We just noted, you know, most of the domestic airlines in the United States, they're going to be posting some very big losses. You went through all of this open skies negotiation, the ability to fly from point to point inside North America, particularly in the United States. Any plans to do that? I mean, you want to join the fray in North America now?
Right. Well, I think the point about changing the business model is bang on. You know, I think people will fly more on business. The question is, will they pay as much as they used to in the past? And that's the big question for all of us. And every airline out there now is desperately trying to restructure its business so that it can be more competitive. But I think at the same time, you have to be out there being brave, being imaginative. You know, so right now, what we have got, you know, hey, pretty much the only good thing about the recession is we've got some empty seats. So we're putting those into the market and saying, hey, we've got something, let's make some good use of it. I think our shareholders recognize it.
But how about government regulation, for example? I mean, you know, you've got code-sharing agreements as part of your frequent flyer program, also as far as scheduling is concerned. Would you like to see the government loosen some of the restrictions so that you could be even more integrated? You could do a merger between a U.S. carrier and, let's say, a British Airways?
Yeah, absolutely we would. I mean, you've got to say, look at the world of airlines. Isn't it a bit crazy that there are over 200 national companies competing with each other? What other kind of industry has that? We would love to see less regulation. We'd love to see more possibilities to cooperate. In fact, right now, British Airways and American Airlines and Iberia are asking for permission to cooperate across the Atlantic and form a joint business, just like many of the other world airlines are already doing. So I think there is a path towards more cooperation, towards a consolidation into a smaller group of world airlines, and actually the regulators should just allow that to happen. That's going to be good news for US businesses because it's going to bring investment into the US. It's going to be good news for travelers because it's going to be more efficient, better products.
All right, well, what about the traveler's experience, let's say, at the airline? I mean, isn't there a kind of conundrum? On the one hand, you provide the service of flying from point to point, yet you don't necessarily control what happens at the point of departure and the point of arrival. I mean, doesn't that present these almost insurmountable problems for an airline?
You know, I don't think so. I think that our experience in British Airways is we've been able to work as close as we possibly can with the owners of the airports, with the people who run, for example, government security, the TSA in the USA, the Civil Aviation Authority in the UK. And we've worked with them to try to make that experience as good as possible for business travellers. You know, we were one of the airlines that pioneered the fast track for your business travellers. We were one of the airlines who pioneered the idea of an arrivals lounge. So when you get in on the ground, you can freshen up before you go and you're ready to do business. So I think there are lots of imaginative ways that airlines can make.
But that still comes at this price point, right? I mean, that then that goes back to that original question is, okay, is anyone really going to pay for it if it's their own money? Business travel, kind of a sobriquet for, well, someone else is really footing the bill.
Yeah, I think people will pay. I think there's a very big open question is, will they pay as much as they used to? And that's why we need to go back to our cost structure and make sure that we can be competitive and we can restructure our business so that we can continue to deliver. You know, they're great products, they're great services. Our customers love them. You put your finger on the point. How much are they prepared to pay for those products and services?
Is there a possibility, though, that what will happen is people just gravitate to the cheapest price no matter what, and that having gone through this down cycle, you end up hurting the brand? So people say, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to pay $3,000 for an airplane seat when I can get more or less the same space for $300.
Yeah, well, that hasn't been our experience in the past. You know, there's the other competition, other carriers have been out there offering vastly inferior products at very low prices. And what British Airways has always proven is that if you've got the right product and the right service, that, let's face it, what it's about is equipping people to connect with each other and do business successfully, to win contracts. And if you've got that right combination of product and service, people generally will pay for it.
Okay, we're going to continue the conversation more with Simon Tulling-Smith. We're going to talk about business travel. It was the most lucrative part of airlines business, including British Airways. What happens if business travel disappears? What's next? This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. I'm Pim Fox. My guest is Simon Tulling-Smith. He is Executive Vice President for the Americas at British Airways. Simon, okay, let's just put the gloom scenario front and center. What happens if business travel doesn't come back? If corporations really say, you know what, you fly over water, you're flying coach?
Yeah, I think we have to be realistic that it will take a while for business travel to come back to the way and the style and the volume that we've seen before. And our predictions is that that could take 5 years or even more. And
5 years, possibly 5 years.
We have a business plan that is based on a 5-year change in our business so that we can cope and thrive in that new world. Our belief is that business travellers will continue to need to travel, and they will continue to need to arrive ready to do business. And so we really believe that that's the case, and that is the model that we're based on.
All right. Now, if that's the model that you're based on, what kinds of services, let's say even in the air, are you planning to give them? Is it going to be internet connections, or is it going to be actual voice communications? What kind of things is going to keep them coming back or get them back in the business class seat?
Yeah, you know, that's really an interesting question, because I think people do assume they sort of jump to technology being the most attractive thing to business people. You know, one of the things that we found is the most attractive thing to business people is sleep. You know, you go from New York to London, and the number one thing that you need is a great night's sleep. And we've invested a lot of money, and we've been leaders in the role in the field for this for many years. You know, things like making sure people eat before they get on the plane, making sure they get every single minute they possibly can lying on a flatbed, and then when they get to London, then they have some breakfast, and then they have a shower, and then they're ready. They're tip-top condition to do business. And I think it's understanding exactly what business travellers need that allows us to give that bit extra, and that's what makes our model work.
Is it possible, you think, to bring back the glamour days of air travel?
Hey, you know, I'd love to. I'm not sure if the world works like that anymore. I don't think the world turns on the glamour days. I think we live in a more democratic world, more equality, and I think the glamour days are something that we're going to look back on fondly and then get on with running our business for the future. All
right. One of the things that is dealing with business here in the United States has to do with, we've got competition, Virgin America going coast to coast, issues of price fixing. What's BA's position?
Well, there's a price-fixing case going on at the moment. Right. It's a criminal case, actually, against individuals. Since it's going on at the moment, I can't really say a lot about it. You know, it's an ongoing legal matter, so I can't comment on that right now.
Any chance that we're going to see BA fly coast to coast?
Well, one of the things that we are hoping will come out of the next round of talks between the EU and the US is the ability for European carriers and international carriers to fly within the States. That's currently not allowed.
Right.
But that's a piece of regulation. It's a good example of regulation that we don't think is sensible.
If that regulation went away, let's say, would you be doing that?
We'd certainly take a look at it, yeah, because we've got great experience of that. We fly hundreds of routes of sort of short and mid-haul distances and around Europe, and so that's a good experience that we could bring to the US. I think we'd need to take a look at it. It's a way off. We'd need to wait until that negotiation comes through.
All right, I know that you're the Vice President of the Americas. Last point about Europe and consolidation, Iberia, is that going to be signed, sealed, and delivered any time in the future?
Yeah, we're really excited about the Iberia deal. It makes a lot of sense for us and for our customers and for our shareholders. Two good, strong airline brands in Europe that have complementary hubs. Iberia are a strong company. They have a great balance sheet. They have a product that their customers love. They're sitting in a great position at Madrid Airport, very good terminal. They've got a new chief executive, Antonio Vasquez, and he is a known deal maker. So we're expecting that to progress nicely.
All right. I want to thank you very much, Simon Tolling-Smith, coming in, Executive Vice President for the Americas for British Airways, sharing your thoughts about the airline industry.